Hey guys, Chrisapu here. In today's movie recap we're finding a new outsider species that takes over a small town. Enjoy! The movie starts with two cops staking out a street as a meteor comes rushing down towards Earth. One of the cops checks the speed of a feathered creature, which incredibly interests the other arresting officer. The two lazy cops totally missed the truth that a meteor just landed and were treated to a small montage of this dazzling small town and its residents. Before meeting one of the main characters, Starla, at a school, we see her talking to another teacher before her possessive spouse swoops in and takes her home. Bill, the police chief, and his colleagues remark about how mismatched of a couple they are. One of them accuses Starla of being a gold digger, but Bill defends her. Back at Grant's home and later at night we see him trying to put the moves on Starla, but she's not in the mood. He persists to no avail until ultimately giving up and decided to go for a walk. Grant heads to a bar where he catches the eye of Brenda. She's got a keen interest in him. A few drinks later and they're having a swell little time in the woods. Brenda takes him to a tree where she carved their initials many years ago, back when she had a crush on him. As things are about to escalate, Grant stops, not wanting to get on Starla out of the corner of his eye. He notices something strange and slimy on the ground. Whatever it was, it left the trail, and Brenda follows it, finding a strange-looking creature. Grant pokes at it with a stick until it opens up and reveals a spiky little appendage. Suddenly it shoots out in him and burrows straight into his chest. A horrified Brenda watches on his Grant collapses and the creature burrows deep into his brain. He immediately inspects the fridge in search of meat. The next morning, Starla apologizes to Grant, but he's not all there. He examines the room and sees the wedding photo. Yeah, that looks familiar, as they're about to make love. She notices the wound on Grant's chest. No, but by the following day Starla's co-workers noticed she's rather smiley. She says it's been a while between her and Grant, and then he was exploring every part of her body. Meanwhile, Grant heads to the supermarket to purchase, yep, got to have that. How about a truck full back at home? Starla notices a lock on the basement door. Upon asking Grant, he tells her he's planning something for her soon-to-be birthday, though she reminds him that that's 2 months away. She walks off in. Grant's stomach begins to growl. He heads outside and spots a snack. The couple's preparing to go to the Deer Cheer, an annual event celebrating the commencement of deer season. As Starla showers, Grant notices his condition is worsening. Something deep inside him is urging him to do something. He walks up on Starla and two tentacles emerged from his chest. As he reaches for the door, he hesitates, not wanting to hurt his dear wife. She notices him watching and he quickly turns around, hiding the tentacle. He tells her he forgot something at work and we'll meet her at the Deer Chair. Bill notices that Starla is alone and his fellow officer Wally teases him for never closing the deal with her on Grant's side of things. He visits Brenda, who's excited to see him. They prepared to do the naughty when Grant reveals his disease-stricken chest. Brenda looks on with horror as two tentacles emerge. She tries to get away, but he forces himself upon her. The tentacles seem to be depositing something into her body. She enters a trance-like state while Grant sits back and enjoys the show. After enjoying a dance with Bill and Deer Chair, Starla returns home where she runs into a disfigured Grant. He explains it away as a bad reaction to a bee sting and that he's already spoken to the family doctor about it. We see Starla call a doc, but he's not seen Grant in a year. On the way home, she sees numerous posters of missing pets around the area. We cut to Grant carrying two full trash bags into a bar. Poor Brenda is tied up begging to be fed. She eats up graciously while he pats her head. Back at Grant's house, Bill and Wally pulled up and are greeted by Starla. They inform her Brenda's disappearance and asked to see Grant, but he's not there. They head out and a suspicious Starlet decides to inspect the locked base. She breaks in with a bat and is horrified to find the mangled and running bodies of various animals, including the missing pet. Panic overcomes her as she calls Bill, but he doesn't respond. Grant looms just outside the window, more deformed than ever. He screeches at her and she flees towards the back door but is intercepted. He accuses her of betraying him while he forces her towards the floor. His tentacles slither down her shirt, but she manages to bash his head and he quickly recovers and locks her in a chokehold. His arm deforms and slithers around her neck. Just in the nick of time, Bill and his crew barge in and, scared, ran off. Majestic. A few days elapse and the police are scrambling to get a hold of Grant, which they now jokingly referred to as a squid. The mayor advises them to cool it as to not cause hysteria. He postulates that perhaps he merely has Lyme disease. You touch some deer feces and then you got your Lyme disease that makes you look like a squid. No, it doesn't. The police station discover Grant's pattern of attack. They surmise that his next attack will be this family's farm. They're going to stake out the place until he arrives and then take him in for question. Everybody gears up and heads out. Starless shows up just as Bill is departing and demands to join in. If they intend to bring him in alive, they're going to need her to bait him, and Bill reluctantly agrees. Night falls and nothing interesting has happened yet. At this point he slices a cow's throat and begins to drag it off. Bill looks unfrozen in place. Starlet decides to take action and approaches Bill as the others circle around, guns locked and loaded. She manages to calm him down, reminding him that marriage is a sacred vow and that she pledges to stay by his side for better or for worse. Unfortunate. This hothead ruins everything when he waves around his gun and threatens Grant in the blink of an eye. He slashes the man, though it's merely a flesh wound. Everyone begins to unload on Grant as he slithers off at incredible speed. They follow suit and come across a barn emanating a putrid smell. Buildings his ear against the door and hears a woman in agony. They bust down the door to find a ballooned up Brent. What's going on here exactly? She complains about her insatiable hunger and asked Bill to give her a piece of possum. Things take a turn for the worse when her insides start to move around. Within moments, her skin begins to tear before bursting and letting loose hundreds if not thousands of little slithering alien worms. They attack the crew and burrow enter their mouths. Though a few of them smart enough and cover up, they ride out the storm until the worms scurry off. We cut to the family's house from earlier as the worms show up. Kylie, their eldest daughter, is enjoying a delightful bath. It slithers and squirms towards her, but she notices it and hops out. A little tug of war ensues. Kylie tries to pull the worm out of her mouth during their struggle. She sees visions of the aliens' experiences on other planets as well as Grant's recent escapade. She pulls and finally gets it out, throwing it across the wall and crawls back, but resourceful Kylie uses her hair iron to cook it to a crisp. She runs out of the bathroom and calls for her mother. She appears vomiting blood on Kylie. Kylie checks up on her sisters, but they too have been infected. She makes it out onto the roof, then hops off before fleeing into a car. Unfortunate, she ain't got a key. The worms engulfed the car, trapping Kylie and darkness. Meanwhile, Bill heads back to the family's house and leaves Starla, his shotgun. Her and the others tend to the fallen officers. After some time, while he awakens and approaches Darla, he begins to speak, and while it is Wally's voice, it's Grant pulling the string. It seems the alien creature operates as a sort of hive mind. Darla readies her shotgun, demanding Grant to stop. Blow off zombie while his head as the others encroach. She fires again, but to her dismay is out of bullets. Plan B running back at the house. The zombified family's attempting to break into the car. When Bill arrives, Kylie dashes out and meets Bill at its side. Suddenly the pair is flanked from behind by several zombies. They manage to dodge their attacks and flee towards Bill's car. As they drive away, those spot Darling Jack running charge runs over one of those hobbies and Starlet brutally wraps up it off. Everybody gets within the car and the group heads back into town. During the drive, Charge hits up Shelby and tells her to urge the CDC on the line. Tragic, she has other things to tend to. Kylie shares the vision she had, expressing that she became portion of the creature quickly. As the crew pulls into town, Grant calls, and having assumed Shelby Snail's intensified body, he tells them he has a surprise holding up for them just around the corner. Definitely. As Bill comes to, he hears droves of zombies calling out for Starla. They reach in and drag out her unconscious body. He exits the vehicle but then helps save Kylie as she awakens. The pair takes shelter behind some bushes outside the police station. The rest will die. He sneaks in and searches for that one grenade we confiscated a while back. While he's in there, he attempts to call for backup but then finds himself in the sights of the zombie deer. It charges, thrashing him around as Kylie watches on through the window. Bill is getting absolutely handled by this deer until Kylie steps in and takes care of business. He retrieves the grenade and then we cut to Start lobbying, gracefully carried into bed and cleaned up by the zombie. Back outside, Bill notices that the zombies are all heading towards Grant's house. Starlet awakens, now donning a slim nightgown. She takes her hairbrush and turns it into a weapon. Starlet walks around the house before entering the living room and finding a now gargantuan and furious Grant. Meanwhile, Bill and Kylie watch on in the backyard. Due to her visions, Kylie recognizes the bulging mass as Grant. The witnesses zombie gravity fusing into him. Bill catches a glimpse of Starla empowering him to charge in. Kylie follows along in the house. Grant is berating Starla for betraying him. He can no longer use his own voice, so he makes use of the zombies attached to him. She tells him she's sorry and promises they'll be together. Starlet moves in for a kill, but then pulls out her makeshift knife and stabs him in the throat. He easily tosses her aside and strangles her before Bill arrives, proudly raising his grenade up high. Well, so much for that. Bill desperately tries to retrieve the grenade, but it ends up going kablooey in the pool. Plan B die. Grant pierces him with one of his tentacles. Bill manages to attach the other one to a propane tank. He opens the valve and fills, ran up as he's dragged back into the house with his last ounce of strength. Bill tells Starlet to shoot him. She obliges. Bill survives though. Kylie explains that you need 2 tentacles in you to get transformed into a womb. The 3 survivors walk off into the sunset. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and a comment. Tell me what your favorite moment of the movie was.